We get experimental science. We're curious, non-judgmental.
Looks mothy. I like y'all choices. Moth don't have legs like that, says Chris T.S. Alright, chat. The correct answer is it's a beetle.
Whoa.
Samar is right.
Amazing.
Most things are beetles. There are 250,000 species of beetle on this planet, and this is a new species of beetle, and any guesses as to how it was discovered? Total accident. There was a PhD student wandering the wilderness of Australia, and he came across what he thought was a cordyceps-infected bug, and he was like, oh, look, it's cordyceps, and he touched it for a sample collection, and the beetle started walking away. He's like, whoa! This thing's alive. And so they collected it. The paper itself is a little bit on the thin side. Yeah, so this is the journal, Australian Journal of Taxonomy. There was any kind of sequencing done on this. And Lita, the big thing is, they were like, nothing that has been described has this kind of body plan, has this kind of hair. The eye structures, like the eye distances and shape, were also undescribed.
Okay, wait. Did they find more of this species?
Yeah,
or
yeah. They found a couple. They found
Okay.
a couple in the area. They don't have a map of like what the range is of this animal. No, there's nothing about genetics on this. It is in fact not infected by fungus. This is the beetle's natural state. And that is a great segue because the authors suggest, there is no evidence to back this up, but it's an interesting one, that the beetles have this as a deterrent from predation. That maybe a bird would be less likely to eat them if they look like they're infected with cordyceps. Kind of how Harissa said, it might be like a little bit off of a flavor. Maybe a bird would think the same thing. And the guy who discovered it kind of had that vibe, like he came across and was like, oh, this looks like it might be infected. So
yeah, that actually seems reasonable. It could also be that the hairs could be prickly enough to be unpleasant as well.
they did mention that these are soft, the hairs.
Okay.
So we do have that level of information. So this is, y'all, some cordyceps. So again, I don't think it's wild to get that kind of imagery from this. The reason that that's interesting is, and the suggestion that they had, is maybe they look like this to prevent predators from wanting to eat them. So maybe the predator thinks that it's covered in mold, perhaps cordyceps, and it's a way to keep those predators away. It's not proven in the paper. It's
interesting. It's an interesting hypothesis, at least.
The Journal of Australian Taxonomy, so it's just body measurements and some, like, here's some photos of it. But it's just really cool to think about, and it'd be interesting to you know, do an experiment of that. Y'all just take a look at how the fuzz is coming out, the spores from the cordyceps, and comparing it back to this beetle.
Fair.
Right? Salma says it all totally looks like the beetle too, right? That's why I was like, oh, it's pretty on point. But yeah, y'all, I think it looks very much like our new species of the week, beetle. Here, this is the rest of the paper. There's just these images and like looking at. They do look at a couple of different specimens, but this is like the holotype that they have in the supplement. There's a few more.
I like that the little pads of its feet are yellow. That's interesting. Do you see that?
For this one?
And is this male or female? Is there a sexual dimorphism? Like, do the females and males look different?
They do not look different. Yeah, that's it. There's not any molecular data. It's just taxonomy. But yeah, they look at different features geography-wise. They didn't find anything in like it, so that was kind of the justification for it being. Summarize what your thoughts on it are? Or?
I'm hoping the holotype is unsexed. Conservation status as this species is known only from a single specimen. There is insufficient evidence to assign it to an appropriate threat category. Its category is regarded as data deficient. Saying there seems to be some misreporting somewhere.
Yeah, because I guess I didn't even notice in the methods, like you said.
In multiple places, they're claiming there was just a single specimen.
But then I saw it plural written as well.
I mean, beetles can be kind of annoying, and I understand if they only have one specimen, you might not want to disrupt it too much to extract a bunch of DNA, but you could probably, like, take its hemolymph without causing too much trouble if you're going to pin it.
You know, you never know the story of it.
No, I know. Like, I hear what you're saying. This is a very cool species, so I'm hesitant to criticize them too much. But I really do wish they did more, because it is very unique and cool.
Yeah, so Sam, we do new species of the week at the start of every Friday stream, and so while this might be the earliest info on it, there's usually more that we get out from it. So there's sequence data, one paper even looked at the genetic mechanism for an observation. That was the farthest that any of them went. This one's probably the least that any of them have gone, but it's one of the more interesting looking ones.
I think it's a really, really cool species, and I love the hypothesis that it's masquerading as being infected by a cordyceps. Like, I love that. But, oh wait, so I gave you my feels. What did you think about this paper? I mean, you chose it for a reason, so you obviously thought it was at least an interesting point of discussion. Was it just because it was amazing looking, or what do you think? Like, what?
I liked it because it was fuzzy. I'd never seen a beetle it was fuzzy before.
Yeah.
And then I liked the hypothesis that they were like, oh, maybe it was something like cordyceps that was the thing that prevented a predator from eating it.
Right. Could you imagine if they had explored that a little bit scientifically? This would have been a blockbuster. Of a
I don't know. They probably would have done like a smaller shaped something and then with hair without.
Yeah.
Like,
I know. I mean, I get it would be a hard thing to study, but it would have been a blockbuster if they'd even a little bit tried to address that hypothesis. It would have been a blockbuster, I'm telling you guys.
This is a species of beetle, and it is not infected with a fungus. It is just naturally this hairy. Yeah. And the idea is maybe, as a hypothesis put forth, that the beetle fuzz is meant to protect the animal from predation because maybe the predator thinks it's also infected.